Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Today, we are honored to welcome Andrea, a former lawyer turned transformational coach, who is on a mission to help high achieving corporate professionals and entrepreneurs unlock lasting joy. Andrea's work goes beyond the surface. She guides individuals to transcend their chase for money, titles, and fleeting pleasures by reconnecting with their authentic self and purpose. Through her expertise, she helps her clients create lives filled with fulfillment, balance, and true happiness. Get ready for a powerful conversation as Andrea shares her insights, journey, and strategies for thriving both personally and professionally. Let's give her a warm Speak Up Queen welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Marika. I am so excited and I'm so honored to be able to be on this platform and to speak up about my own story in the hopes that it can, just bring like a positive impact to those who actually need to hear it. Thank you.
Well, lovely Queen, let's start. What does healing mean to you, and how has your journey toward it shaped the woman you are today?
Oh, that is a loaded question. To me, healing really means remembrance. So, from the time that we are young, we have had values and ideals imposed on us from society, from culture, from convention, from tradition. And we tend to follow that as a result of, well, we didn't really know any better and we wanted to have acceptance and love. And so, but a lot of the times, a lot of those ideals are not really incongruent with who our soul came here to be. It's not incongruent. It's congruent with society, but it's not incongruent with who we really are at a soul level. It's not incongruent to who we are as in our essence. So to me, healing really shifting limiting beliefs, transmuting stagnant energy that's stored in our body, healing trauma, all of that healing really is to me remembrance, a remembrance of who we are, a remembrance of who we came here to be, a remembrance that we are just spiritual beings residing in a human body. So that's what healing is to me. And the second question is how did my journey bring me to who I am today? So, well, the long and short story of that is just basically I grew up in a very strict Chinese Christian family, and I was groomed towards becoming a lawyer. Well, it could be any law, it could be any kind of corporate professional. But I think it took me a long time, and I felt that I thought I didn't really know any better, so I thought this was really the journey to go. But I always felt deep down that I did not belong in this industry. I did not belong in Malaysia. I did not belong in this family. For as long as I could remember, I had always asked myself, why am I here? Why am I in this country? Why are these the only career options available to me? It's insane. And I think it was only when I finally decided that I am going to go and search for me. And it was then that I went on this journey of following only what brings me joy, because I refuse to believe that we came here to be in pain and suffering for the rest of our lives. It does not make sense. No one, not even God, is that cruel. So I thought I'm just going to find what brings me joy. I think it was that first, I think that might have been the second moment that I decided to choose me. And when I decided to choose me and to open myself up to the possibility of me, whatever that me could be, that has led me down a phenomenal journey of, I can say, coming home to myself. And as I came home to myself, I came home to my family, I came home to my culture, I came home to Christ consciousness. In so many ways, I came home. And that has been the journey that has led me to who I am today.
Did you also have to move to Australia before you found yourself?
Oh, definitely. There was no way I was going to find myself in Malaysia.
Okay, because me and my husband and my son, we've moved, we flew out of South Africa on my 30th birthday, and that is when I decided that I want to leave my 16-year-old firm at the airport to come on this journey to find out who I was without the limiting beliefs and things like that. So that's why I'm asking, did you also move to Australia to start finding yourself?
Well, I moved to Australia for uni, so I was 19 at the time, and I only really started finding myself at the age of 31. So I would say that it was an accident, and I think life has a beautiful way of working its way in such a magical method, that when it's kind of your time, things in your life will start to happen to kind of like prompt you and be like, hey, Andy, oh, hey, Marika, do you want to look at this for a bit? Do you want to maybe reconsider that this might not be the path for you and maybe there is another way? But in order to do that, life has to kind of make parts of your world fall apart a little while. There has to be some pain, some suffering, and then it's like, okay, I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm going to choose me now.
It's now time. It's my time to shine.
Yes, that's right. And
Can
so,
you?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to say something else?
Oh no, I was just about to say, so yeah, it's really interesting to learn that you came here at the age of 30. And, in so many ways, I'm quite curious as to what was your story. And I'd love for you to share your journey if you wanted to.
Well, I'm a survivor of sexually abuse and childhood trauma. So
Mhm.
thanks for asking me the questions. Now I feel like we've switched roles. Oh,
We're
I'm
just
feeling
sharing.
um, and when I was 17 years old, my dad beat my mom the previous night. I was in my last year of school, and my dad hit my mom. And that night he said that he was gonna kill all of us, my sisters and ourselves, my mom and my
Wow.
sisters. And I went to my mom to her work, and I can still remember I've asked her, Mom, aren't you tired of the abuse? Because that happened for almost all our lives. And she
Mm.
said she just didn't know how. And I said, okay. And I went to the social worker, which knew us all too well. And I said to her, can I please get the police officer? I was ready to share my story. And that police officer said, Marika, you just broke the cycle, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And I was like feeling chuffed. I'm 17 years old. I did something amazing. And then I had to retell my story to another detective. And the first thing he said, you've asked for it, no one will believe you, and it's your fault.
Mm.
And I was silent for 13 years later. I've had my husband I've met my husband when I was 17. So he went into
Wow.
that detective's office and he just threw his desk in his face and said, how can you say that to a woman or a girl who's trying to speak up? So my husband
Yes.
has been my,
Ultimate rock.
he's my safety resource. And so he's been through everything with me. He's been my punching bag. I wouldn't date myself. So I don't know how he kept up with me because I wouldn't. But anyway, I'm grateful that he did. And on my 30th birthday, we moved to Australia. And that's just the day that I decided I need to go and find out. I'm 30 years old. I'm feeling like a
Mm.
16-year-old child. I'm people pleasing. I can't say no. I don't know who I am without these limiting beliefs that I'm not enough. And I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. I hated looking myself in the mirror because the child that was looking back at me was heartbroken. So over the last five
Yeah.
years, I've really went on my healing journey, dive really deep in, and I think 5 months ago we were on a changemaker workshop, and that changemaker workshop really changed my life because we really had to go in
Yeah.
because I love creating safe spaces for women, especially women who've been through abuse. And we
Mm.
had to go 5 levels
Mhm.
deep to see why are we doing what we're doing. And that's when I realized that the things that I'm doing is for that 17-year-old me that was silenced. And
Yes.
that is how Speak Up Queen was born. 10 weeks ago or 12 weeks ago, Speak Up Queen was born to be a place for women to share their stories boldly without
Yeah.
anyone silencing them again. So that's my story.
I love that, Marika. I really, really love that. Thank you so much for sharing such deep, vulnerable, and potentially, clearly very painful moments that happen in your life, and to share that so openly. I love how you've turned your pain into purpose. You've turned your pain into transformation. You've transmuted your so many dark moments of your life into light so that it can be a beacon for other women. And so many women experience this, but are so afraid to speak up because they're probably treated the same way, that this detective said the same things to you, which is that, they were just not believed and not held. I think this is amazing, Marika. Thank you for sharing this story.
Well, thanks for making me part of your time. I do appreciate it. That is something really different.
Yeah.
I love it. Can you share a moment when you chose self-discovery over self-doubt and what you learned about yourself?
I think the biggest moment for me would be when I decided to quit law for the second time. I had quit law for the first time after working 3 years as a family lawyer, working with domestic violence, divorces, separations, and child protection. It was really quite heavy for me, and I felt like I had already kind of been feeling like this was not the career, but I just didn't know any better. So I went on a sabbatical. I went traveling around the world, and I was hoping to find career inspiration, and I found so much. So much. I found so much self-confidence. I found that was the level one of overcoming self-doubt. I found that I was a powerful manifester when I just decided to surrender to anything. When I was surrendering to everything and open to anything, I found that everything worked out in my favor. And actually, it was in that trip that I really like solidified this belief that everything always happens in my highest good. Everything, even when it's chaotic and messy, and there were moments like that, but everything always happens in my highest good. And number two is that I will be able to figure everything out. So these were the two beliefs that carried me through the next few years. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't because that Andy of 2017 went through that. And the other pivotal moment was when I couldn't find any career inspiration. I decided to go back to law. So I thought, okay, I got bills to pay, I have responsibilities. So I worked in law for another 3 years. And when the pandemic hit, when I was at home, I couldn't go out with my friends, I couldn't party, I couldn't do all the things that made me happy. And I realized again, like, wow, this career is not it. And if I have been able to carry it through for another 3 years, it's because I had great friends. I had a great social life. I had good money. My boss was great. My work environment was great. Everything was great. Everything was perfect. So I should be staying here, right? I should be. But why do I feel so miserable? And when I would tell a few people that I want to move on, and I know that their initial, of course they support me, but I know that their initial thoughts were that you're crazy because there's nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong. It's different if it was a toxic work situation or something, or I had terrible clients, which I did not. So I decided, you know what? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what is the career that I'm meant to have, but I know that I cannot stay here anymore. If I stay here, I will be miserable. So I thought, you know what? What I love to do is I love to have photographs of myself in bikinis and beautiful beaches and spreading positive messages. So I decided to start an Instagram account, and I quit law to be a social media influencer. Can you imagine that? And so from that point onwards, that was my first step of overcoming self-doubt and overcoming limiting beliefs and choosing myself. But at that moment, it was important to me to always choose from a place of presence and to choose what brought me the highest joy at any given moment, not projecting into the future, not thinking too far ahead, just what is the next step in front of me. And bit by bit by bit, then I pivoting from law, social media influencer, social media manager, digital nomad coach, mindset coach, theta healer, and now here I am calibrating everything over the past 3-4 years and becoming a transformational coach and energy healer for soul searching professionals. And that's the journey of choosing me every single time. And it's not just big decisions, it's the many tiny decisions, such as choosing to meditate in the morning, choosing to cut dairy for my coffee this morning, even if I don't cut it tomorrow. It's a small little decisions every single time. Yeah.
I love it. Women are often seen as nurturers. How do you balance nurturing others while ensuring your growth and well-being?
Oof, that's a really good question because I agree. Like it is women being more nurturing and women being more resilient as well. And because we are stereotyped or we are pictured as so self-sacrificing and giving that we want to fit into that box. We've been taught to fit into that box. It's quite ridiculous. For me, I believe in nurturing and I do believe in giving, but I do not believe in self-sacrificing. I believe that it is so important. If we want to pour from a place of true, genuine love, it involves pouring from an overflowing cup. So, meaning pouring into our cup, pouring, like drowning ourselves with so much self love. And I don't mean getting a manicure and pedicure, I mean like healing childhood wounds. I'm talking about overcoming limiting beliefs, overcoming people pleasing, overcoming addiction, really working on ourselves so that when we are in a state of being able to pour into others, we are not pouring from a place of lack, scarcity, or need. We're pouring from a place of true love.
I
That's
love
my take on it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my word. We can go on. I can talk for hours on this. This is just so amazing. And when we start loving ourselves, because that was really something that I needed to learn. When I started to watch myself in the mirror and saying to myself, I am enough. I am enough. I am. And I really looked myself in my eyes and I said to myself, I am enough. You are enough. I forgive you. I am enough.
Yes.
It was just like I could trust my husband. Not that he ever gave me a reason not to trust him, but I really had like a checklist. If he marries me, he loves me. If he gives me a child, he loves me. If he does this, he loves me. And when we are on this healing too, I think I really started when we moved here. Let's say 3 years ago, and I started to rip off these limiting beliefs, and I started to get this confident and showing up authentically.
Yeah.
I was attracting my husband and showing because I was loving myself. I was
Yes.
open for his love, to receive his love for me and
Yes.
my sons. And I was like, I've missed out on so much. And that is why I don't want women to waste another minute on thinking that they are not worthy. Because
Yes.
I don't want that.
Yes, yes, let's create this movement. And I love everything about what you said about how when you started loving yourself, because when you start to love yourself, as you said, you are opening when you open yourself up to love yourself, it means that you're also opening yourself up to receive love from the external reality. And this plays so much into natural energetics, right? When we love ourselves, we raise our vibrations. And the more we keep raising that vibration, it is impossible to not call in, to not naturally magnetize, whether we want to or not. It is impossible to not naturally magnetize everything that is of the exact same vibration. So based on what you told me about your husband, he sounds like the most beautiful, angelic being. And I can just imagine how much healing and how much darkness you have transmuted to get your vibration up that high, to be of that high of a frequency, to attract such a wonderful man into your life. I think that's phenomenal, Marika.
I must say, I'm very lucky enough. I've met my husband when I was 17 years old. We've been together for 18 years.
Okay, there was a soul contract there probably as well.
So I was really, the Lord knew when to put my husband on my life, because I didn't have any hopes for myself when I was 17 years. I just wanted to be like Coyote Ugly, dance on bars, dance on tables and surf men. And just that was my dream. I really wanted to be like Coyote Ugly. I wanted to be a hairdresser, dance over in the evenings. I would dance on the tables. That was my vision. And then I met my husband, and like I said, he's been so patient. I think because coming from a place, especially if there's women listening, from a house where there was always fighting, like there was always fighting and anger and making up anger, and it was like a repeat bad cycle.
Yeah.
And when I moved in with my husband right
There's
after
peace.
school, I was seeking for arguments. If
Yes.
he was 5 minutes late from home, from work, I would thought he was cheating because that was what my dad did.
Yes.
I was told like he was cheating on me, and then I would just argue. And here he was calm. He didn't want to fight back. I've tried to push him to a place where he could hit me because I mean that is what I was used to. That was what I was thinking is supposed to be happening. I have to push you, and I was testing him. I really don't know how, why he didn't just put me over his leg and give me a slap on my bum because I was pushing, I was craving anger, and I really had to start relearning from a young age that there is people that's actually not going to hit you, that's not going to abuse you, that's not going to shout at you, that's not going to.
Yeah.
And it took us 4 years to come at a place in our relationship where I saw, okay, it's actually normal for him not to push back. It's actually normal for him to be this calm.
Yeah.
There is people like that. I didn't know. And it took us
Yes.
4 years. And then when he married me and he gave me a son, like I said, moving to Australia really changed our relationship. Him
Yeah.
and my son. So I'm very blessed to have an amazing husband.
You are so blessed. And I hope that, well, I know that it will also be another sign of hope that there are good men out there.
Yes.
Because I know with where the world is going on, with how the world is going on right now, it's women are rejecting men. Men are starting relationships with AI forms of being, on whether it's on a computer or maybe even like a robot or dolls at this point. It's so bad, the division and the polarity that is being created, that is being amplified right now. And there are amazing men out there.
Yes.
And and there are amazing men who are integrated, who are healthy, and who want to love and want to serve and protect their woman if it is the right woman.
Absolutely. And you are not broken. I always thought that I was broken. My past defined me and I was broken. And there, this man just loved me for who I was. And like I said, I didn't even like myself. So I don't know what he saw in me, but maybe he was just in love with me that he didn't see my mistakes. I don't know. But like I said, I was craving, I was searching for reasons for him to just be angry at me. And in the last 18 years, never.
Yeah.
And that's just, the Lord knows how to put people in your life. And
At the
like
right time.
vibrations. It's not even just your partner. It can be a mentor or a friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is insane. I would agree. Like, it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that applies to both parties.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, lovely Queen, what inspired you to reclaim your voice, and how has that choice impacted your life?
I think the thing that inspired me to reclaim my voice is I just wanted the truth. I was on a search for truth. I was on a search for my truth. And I think that this is a journey that everyone should go on. Not the truth that has been given to you by your family, because that's their truth. Not it's the truth that has been given to you by society, because that is a collective consciousness truth. But what is your personal truth? And I think when I had already played society's game sufficiently, I realized I was not happy, and I realized I am so done taking on someone else's truth. I am going to go and find my truth. So I decided to speak out. And when I decided to transition out of a legal career, that was really, really difficult for me, actually, because what would other people think? More specifically, what would my parents think? As it is, my relationship with my parents at the time was so bad. Like, every time we would talk, it's basically World War III, But at the same time, as children, and I think you could understand this, is that we still deeply want the approval and we still deeply want our parents' love, regardless of how terrible the relationship is, regardless of how misaligned our behaviors are, regardless of how chaotic and messy it is. Deep down, we still want that, right? And so there was a period of time where I thought, if I choose me and I'm going to speak up and I'm going to reclaim my voice, I would probably have to cut ties with them. And I did for a certain period of time. And then, and then I don't know what happened in their life while these cutting of ties happened, because there was a period of, I don't know how many months, maybe like 8 months or something, that I just did not speak to them. And I said that I just need some space, that I need to go find my own way. But then eventually, bit by bit, contact started happening again. We started talking again. And again, I don't know what happened in their life, but eventually I could tell that they were now coming from a place of, we genuinely want to just support you. We don't know where your path is going to go. And we're actually okay with that. We just want to support you. And that has been incredibly life-changing. It has enforced to me how powerful your energy is, our own personal energy, and how powerful it is, and how life-changing it is, and how alchemizing it is when we find our voice and when we speak up for it from a place of empowerment, from a place of love, from a place of not looking to be better than other people, not saying that this is bad, better or worse, or, you don't know any better and I do. It's just speaking from a place of soulful truth. And then when we are in that frequency, when we are speaking and being from that energy, everything in our reality just shifts. So many things have shifted. And every single time I set a boundary, even if people left my life for a particular period of time, they always come back. Always. I cannot count how many people I let go of. And then 1 or 2 years later, it's like, oh, hey, how you going? I miss you. Let's be friends again. And this time it's coming from a really genuine place, not the same kind of place that it was before. And it's beautiful.
It is. And just, I read somewhere, I'm not sure in which book I read it, but
Yeah.
we are victims of victims. And that was something that, like, whoa, that stuck with me. That was something that I learned last year or the year before. And I was like, because generational trauma can come back to 8 generations. Sometimes we don't even carry our own trauma. We are carrying our great-great-grandmother's trauma.
Yes.
And that was something like, we are victims of victims. So, and sometimes trauma can't be resolved in 1 generation. And that is why we are here. We are the ones who's been sent to break generational curses. And that's why we are doing these things that people think it's impossible. And that is why we're speaking up and doing it.
Yes, preach, sister. and I also want to add as well is that, like, even though so much of the way we are, even if so much of the way we are comes from, the wounds and the traumas of our ancestors, of our lineage, we can also say so much of our wounds come from, from past lives, for example. But I also want to also add in there that even though so many people refer to generational trauma, even though so many people refer to that, when they think about their ancestors, they're associated with trauma. But I also want to add that a lot of wisdom comes from our ancestors as well. I know for a fact that the work ethic that I have, the strong work ethic that I have, I mean, it came with trauma, don't get me wrong, but it also came from the work ethic of my ancestors. Just using that as a simple example, there is so much wisdom to be derived from our ancestors. The trauma is one thing, that is one set of gifts on its own, one set of wisdom on its own, but then there's also the other set where it's just pure wisdom. Just pure wisdom. And I just wanted to slide that in there.
Oh, I love it. I really do love that. That is just amazing how you said it, because that is how my grandma, she said to me, "You're gonna marry a farmer's son." And I was like, "Grandma,
A
I'm
farmer's
thinking
son.
about dancing on tables. I don't think I'm gonna get a farmer's son in there." And I was like, and that was so boring. And that is who did I marry? Who was coming into my life after she put that words and put it into my life. She spread it into my life. She saw it into my life. So yes, they just know what's best.
Wow. So you married a farmer's son.
Yes, and you know what's the best part? She
What is it?
saw my husband growing up in front of her in church. She knew exactly who he was. She knew exactly how sweet, and he wasn't the naughty child in church. She knew exactly who he was. And I was like, "What?" So this is just like wisdom. I love it.
Your grandma is something else.
Oh,
Like
she was.
there is some extra psychic gifts there. She's like a seer in a way.
Yeah, no, she definitely was. Yeah, she was.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I didn't
No.
really get to grow up with many of my grandparents much, because I think also we also didn't speak the same language. I spoke English and they spoke, another Chinese dialect. So I think yeah, I love hearing stories about people who are very close and who are very close to their very wise grandparents. It's really sweet.
What inspired you to reclaim your voice, and how has that choice impacted your life? Oh, we did do that one, didn't we?
Yes, yes,
Okay, next
we did answer
question.
that. And I love that you're not editing this out. I love how raw it is. It's epic.
What advice would you give women who feel silenced or overlooked in their personal or professional lives?
The advice that I would give to women who are overlooked and overshadowed in their personal and professional lives is, until you see yourself and until you reclaim your voice and speak up for yourself, until you view yourself as worthy of taking up space, the same things are always going to occur. It all starts with you. If you don't take up space, no one is going to give you that space. So if you don't make a sound, no one is going to listen. So if you're feeling overlooked, you have to start looking at yourself and see in what areas have you dismissed yourself? What parts of your amazing soul have you not looked at? And have you not amplified? Have you not shown other people? There is literally no benefit to anyone, and also no benefit to you if you shrink your own light. That's what I'd share.
I love it. That's coming to the last question.
Okay.
What inspired you to say yes to being featured on Speak Up Queen? And what does this opportunity mean to you as a platform to share your story?
Well, it means a lot to me because I know that lots of women do not speak up. It is a thing. And I think earlier on I had said it's because we are taught to be so nurturing. We are taught to be so obedient, so quiet, so self-sacrificial, so, so giving to other people that who cares about our voice, right? And so I think being on this platform is so important because I think it's so important for women to take up space because we get to bring something more and offer something more and bring balance to the typical masculine voices that have dominated this world in this reality for as long as they have. Whereas when women speak up, we normally get to speak up from assuming we're coming from a place of healing and empowerment. We're able to bring that balance. We're able to bring more softness, bring more nurturing. And in that softness and in that nurturing tone, in that nurturing nuance, there is power there. In that vulnerability, there is a power there that is so deep and yet incredibly subtle at the same time. It's not the typical kind of manly masculine power where you hit your chest and you shout your name in the top of a mountain. It's not that. It's a very, very intuitive, powerful depth and
love
that women can bring. And that's why I wanted to be on this platform so that more and more women get to feel safe in hearing their voice, in finding their voice, in letting other people hear their voice. I want them to feel safe being who they are. And just as you had said before, I want them to know that they're okay, that they're actually perfect, that they're not broken, that they're so worthy, that they're enough, that even one simple statement that comes out of their soul is going to be so powerful and impactful to so many other women, they just don't even know it. Yes. Would you mind reminding me what was the second part of the question again?
And what inspired you to say yes to being featured on Speak Up
Okay.
Quick? And what does
Yes.
this opportunity mean to you as a platform to share your story?
Okay, so I think I've answered the first part. What does this platform mean to me as an opportunity to share my story? I think I could tie it back to what I'd said before. It's a form, it's a way that I can bring as much awareness and spread as much inspiration as possible to the women who will need to hear this, whether it's burnt out women stuck in a corporate job that they're unhappy with, or women who feel that they're afraid to speak up, women who feel that they are not enough, women who feel that they don't know enough and they don't know how to navigate challenges and difficulties. All of these women would be able to benefit from taking the time to search for their truth. And once they have found their truth, to voice that truth. And
I
that's what
love
this
it.
platform is to
I
me.
love it. Well,
Thank you,
Andrea,
Marika.
thank you so much for sharing your powerful and inspiring story with us today. Your journey reminds us of the strength and courage it takes to heal, grow, and thrive. To everyone tuning in, remember your voice and your story have the power to inspire and create change. If today's episode is resonating with you, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who needs this message. Until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and embracing your